I'm about to show you how I did these boho knotless braids with beads and a bob. I didn't want to show you a bunch of repetitive braiding, so I just waited until I had about 2 rows left. And right now you see me cleaning up the parts with my braiding gel. All the supplies that I use will be in the description box for you. If you want to see a video of just boho bob knotless braids or boho knotless braids, I do have a playlist of all the knotless braids or box braids, if you will. My client did come with blow dried hair. This hairstyle should last about a month and some change. 3 weeks, I always say. 4 is the max. But yeah, this hairstyle will last a long time with proper care and maintenance, meaning tying it down every night. For her, I did tell her to do a couple ponytails and wrap a scarf around because she does have the boho curls that are synthetic, which is the free tress beach curl. What you don't want to do is have a bonnet on. Girls love bonnets, but to be honest, that's why the boho braids do not last a long time because of that reason. All that rubbing, especially if it's synthetic hair, which I am using on her hair, which I am putting in later. You'll see me install the boho in later, and the reason why I install it in after I do all the braiding. But if we're starting right here, you do want to leave out some baby hairs if your client requests baby hairs to be left out. She wanted them out right there. She told me exactly where she wanted them. I did ask her where she wanted her baby hairs because some girls don't like the whole hairline to be baby haired. They just like just a little bit out, or some don't like none at all. So you really want to ask your client about that. When I do my knotless braids, I start off immediately feeding in hair. I do that because I want it to all, especially with bobs, I want it to all be the same at the root all the way throughout the braid. You don't want to add too much hair, especially when doing a bob, and you want to make sure that you have a short length braiding hair. You do not want to have long braiding hair when doing a bob. You can, but you're just wasting your money because buying extra length costs more money. So I do have, this is Expressions. I believe it is 10-inch hair, and I'm just feeding it in and I'm braiding it down. For this style, didn't want the braids to be super thick simply because you have to keep in mind of the beads and the hole that you want to feed the beads through, which is the ending of your braid. If you make the braid too thick, it will not be able to fit with the bead size that I have. So you can find beads that are bigger, but for her, she's getting like not a small, but a medium sized beads. So I have to just keep that in mind. Make sure you feed in small pieces and do not make the braid super big. You want it to go from the size all the way to like more skinnier. You'll see as I go down. It is very hard to do, I'm not going to lie, for the back row because that is the shortest braid you're going to do. So you really want to make sure in that back row you're adding in small, tiny pieces because you do not want your braids to be bigger than the hole for the beads. And now you see me just parting off, doing the second braid in this row. And I pretty much, as you braid, you'll get used to the braid size as far as the square on how big the part needs to be. It's an eyeball type of situation, especially when you have done so many boxes already on your client's head. I don't really use any type of measurements for me. Some people like to use the comb, like the top of a rat tail comb, to really figure out like the width and the length of the parts. And if you want to see a video on that, let me know and I'll show you how people may measure that and use it in that way. I'll probably do it in a short. If you haven't already, please subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when I'm posting. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Comment if you're going to try this hairstyle or any questions. I will definitely answer and get back as soon as I can. And just let me know, like, if you would change the color of the beads or not. My client, I asked her why she decided to go with rainbow. She said because she has so many different variety of colors in her wardrobe that it wouldn't look right with a single color. And I agreed. I think it turned out really cute. And as far as beads, it's really up to you. I've done this hairstyle before, but I did not record the process. So that's why I'm coming in doing it. But the other girl, she had brown, she has rainbow. You can literally decide what color you want as far as the beads. You can decide a different curl pattern. Like I said, I picked beach curl because that's my favorite synthetic curl pattern. I think it gives just enough wave and curl that it just looks really cute to me. Some people like it tighter. You can really choose which curl and which beads you would like for your boho and for your bead selection. So that is really up to you. Since I am done with this braid, I want to get back into it. You see I'm tying a knot and I measured it from the last braid. When you're doing a bob, you want to make sure that you're knotting at the exact or close enough spot as the braid prior to, that will determine the length of the bob that you want when you're tying off your knot. You really don't have to do beads if you don't want to. Where the knot is, you can also curl and still do the boho look. So if you're looking at this video and you're like, I don't want the beads, you can still continue to watch and learn how to do a bob because you don't have to put beads at the end. I knotted it off because that's where I wanted the beads to stop, to the length to stop. And that's where I'm going to like leave the beads at their last, like that's kind of marking where the beads will lie. But you don't have to do that. You can curl it if you want to and say no to the beads. So it's really up to you. I do put braiding gel, or I did use braiding gel like throughout the braid. She did have blunt ends, and I did have to tuck, which is fine, but it takes a little bit more time when tucking because you want to make sure there's no blunt ends coming out of your client's braid. Because I am one person doing her hair, it did take me 6 hours to do this hairstyle, maybe like 6.5, maybe 7 because of filming, but typically it takes about 6 hours, and that's what everything prepped and ready to do. When I mean prepped, I mean the hair is prepped on the braiding rack, the beads is on the beater, the rubber bands is out for the beads, the curly hair is on the braiding rack. You want to make sure you have everything prepped and ready to go. Because if you, say for instance, only had the braiding hair ready, you'll still have to individually take the curly hair. You'll then have to beat up the beater, and all those things takes time. So if you're doing this hairstyle on a client and you're trying to get them in and out, make sure you have enough energy as well. Get enough sleep at night and make sure you have everything prepped and ready to go, because that will help with the duration of how long this hairstyle will take to install. So keep that in mind. I feel like 6 hours went really fast. If you're wondering what my client did, she watched them the first season. She pretty much enjoyed the whole thing. So yeah, we took some breaks, and not really breaks, but you'll see me probably in the background on the live that I did. So if you haven't seen me doing this hairstyle live, you'll probably see me in the background using a spoon, eating popcorn, um, eating watermelon, eating a popsicle, because your girl be hungry sometime. But that's not what slowed me down with this hairstyle, but you literally want to make sure everything is prepped. And that goes for even having the water in the kettle ready to get turned on when you're on that last braid. So it'll be boiled and the curl, and make sure you got your curling rods out or whatever you're using when doing the hairstyle. I didn't have to use curlers, but you want to make sure you got the towel and the kettle and the hair and the beads and the rubber bands and all those things out and ready to go. You want to be prepared when doing your client's hair. So if you're looking to get a hairstyle like this, be prepared to either have some snacks, ask your hairstylist if they have television, bring a book, because you will be sitting for a while. Even if you have two people on your head, it still probably take about 3 hours, 2 hours. It still takes more than an hour to achieve this look. I am now on the last braid, and you see that all the parts are nice and crispy. I'm adding in the last bit of hair for this braid. I also want to say that when you get to the top part, you're going to be adding in here a little bit more, only because you are at the person's top of their head and you want the length to fall where it needs to fall. Or you can, to be honest, add less hair and let it just drag through. But you want to make sure that all the braids are most likely the same size. So yeah, you do add a little bit more because of lengthwise. Or for some, I didn't have to add in more hair. But either way, you have to make sure that the hair is long enough to be all the same length. Or you can ask your client if they want more of a layered look. And then you don't have to think about things like that. For her, I wanted them all to fall most likely at the same length. I just think it'll look better. For me, I just like it better more that way, but some may request a asymmetrical, so you can do that as well with the bob. So make sure you ask, or if you're doing it, you think about what type of bob you want. Do you want an asymmetrical bob? Do you want all your braids to be the same length? Do you want a layered look? So keep that in mind when doing any type of bob. I also want to tell you to moisturize your hair. You see, I am slicking all this grease all over her head, making sure that her hair is not dry at the root. And I know you're probably thinking, well, you put the braiding gel on, that's a braiding gel. I want to go in and do a moisturizer just to make sure she's nice and oiled. I do glob it on there because I am going to be doing one way and then slicking it down the other. But I make sure I put enough so that way they don't have to think about moisturizing their hair unless they maybe went swimming or a week later or a week or two later. It all depends on how your hair hold in moisture. And you see I'm just rubbing it in. Now I am cutting with my shears. They are like the type of shears to take off volume. So I am just cutting to make it thinner at the ends before I dip this in boiling hot water. I want to make sure that these are as thin as possible because I want them to be, of course, they're going to be thinner when it gets dipped, but I want to make sure it is super thin so I don't have a problem taking the beads up the braid. And I'm just cutting and taking the thickness off with these shears. I am not using, again, regular shears. I am using the kind that take away volume or thickness, if you will. Like I'm trying to thin out the ends of the braids so that way it is skinny, super skinny when I dip the hair in boiling water. So if you want to see a close-up of those shears or you want me to show them, I can post them in a regular posting on the shears that I used for this hairstyle. Now I am dipping the hair. I want to make sure that all the things, and you see the ends turned out very thin. They're not thick, very thin, but I am dipping them first because I want the ends to be silky and I don't want to work with thick braiding ends. And I'm not going all the way up my client's hair. You want to make sure you're mindful of where your client's hair stop. You do not want that boiling water to hit your client's hair. I know it may look like I'm going further up, but that's because where the water is in the picture that I am using, where it starts, I can see it, but you can't see where it ends or begin. But do not go all the way up your client's hair or braid if you know their hair is there. Boiling water will strip and destroy your client's natural hair, so be mindful of that. For this client, her color of her hair is kind of, I can see where it ends, and that pretty much let me know where her ends stop as far as in the braid, but I'm really not even aiming for their entire braid anyway. I'm just simply doing the ends so they can be nice and sleek for beading. This is boiling water, so make sure you are safe. You have a towel on your client, multiple towels if needed. Make sure you are an adult or a grown up before trying to be dealing with any type of boiling water, because you can really hurt yourself and you can really hurt your client. And I just really want to put that disclaimer out there. Don't be out there saying you watch me and say, oh, Gemma Jim said to use boiling hot water and for all ages. No, you need to be an adult or be assisted by an adult. And you also need to make sure you're safe and have the proper things around to make sure no one gets burned. And now you see I am beading. I do have a beater that I made. If you want to see how I made my beater, let me know. I'll probably make that a members only. Simply because I'm giving you a gem that I use, that I love and enjoy, and it makes it a lot quicker. I have two beaters that I do, and yeah, these are I'm telling you, when you have a beater, it's a game changer. And I'm not talking about no little beater that come in that little bead box. I'm talking about a long beater where you can do multiple braids at a time. You don't have to keep feeding on beads. You want to get a long beater, invest in that. So we'll have a members only on how to make a beater for you girls and guys who are trying to figure out, how do I make this process a lot faster? Having a beater and having it prepared, having the beads prepared on the beater prior to the hairstyle being done. So be on the lookout for that. I'll probably link it in a card above once I create that video for this hairstyle. So be on the lookout for that. And yeah, that's pretty much how I put all the beads on before I add the rubber bands, because to me that's quicker. And as you know, once you rubber band it, that's final where the braids, where the beads will be sitting. And you cut right after, which I'll also be showing you as well. She only wanted 4 beads, but you, like I said, you can decide what color, and you can also decide how many beads per braid that you want on your hair. Some people like to put less in the back, some put some less in the front, some like the same amount around the whole thing. Now you see I am measuring and I'm adding the rubber band around the last bead that I strung onto the braid. You just pull it down, measure it out, then you take the rubber band and you wrap it around a couple times, and then you let it fall. I'll then show you how I cut the excess hair off after. I also do that in steps as well. So I add the bead, then I add the rubber band, then I cut the excess off. Because I want to make sure before you cut, because when you cut, it's final. Ain't no going back. Ain't no turning back. Which where if it's shorter, you can cut the rubber band and remeasure and put it back. So do not put the bead on when you're trying to do like any type of bob or a certain length. Do not put the bead on and cut right away. Cut the excess hair off right away. Because sometimes you can either be cutting too much and that can really ruin the hairstyle. So I like to rubber band all the beads on, then cut. I did, because I am not new to this process, I did do the other side already. and I cut all the excess hair off, and now I'm just matching the other side. But I did show off, or at least on my live, you see me remeasuring a lot of the braids, because also when you're putting beads on and you're doing it on your client, you want to make sure your client has their head straight, looking forward, no bending, no anything, to make sure that the beads all fall at the same length. And I have forgot to tell my client here that. So I literally then told her, so you see, she is having her head straight forward and it's up nice and straight, so we can make sure this length is Bobbiana. Make sure it's bobbing. It's on a bob. You know what I'm saying? All the way around. Not looking crazy on each side. So you see she's straight ahead, keeping her head straight so everything can fall where it needs to fall, and it looks the same all the way around. Now before cutting, I'm making sure the length is the same on each side. Now I'm about to start cutting. So you just turn it and clip it off with some scissors, just like so. Make sure you're taking your time and you're not rushing, so you can clip off the right amount of excess hair. You just clip it all off and make sure it's nice and clean off, because you want to make sure you pull the beads down over that part that I am snipping, so you cannot see the rubber band or anything like that. Now I am starting from the back and I am crocheting in the boho look. I did everything in the order that I did it simply because you don't want to worry about, if I would have did the boho curls before the beads, you don't want to worry about the rubber band getting entangled with the boho hair and all that, and trying to move all that stuff around and clipping it around. If I would have braided the curly hair in, that's what I would have been up against. I also like to crochet or latch hook, if you will, the hair in more so than adding it in as I braid. With human hair, of course, you'll have to add it in as you braid, and then you'll just have to clip up and all that good stuff and make sure the rubber band doesn't get intertwined. But I like to add in synthetic hair with a latch hook simply because one is quicker, and two, if your client gets tired of the boho look, or it gets, tangled and it's just, or they just get tired of the look, or they get tired of the hair matting, because it does tend to mat, but I feel like they all do. They can just find somebody to say, cut the knot right here where she added in the boho curl, and then she can just rock it without it being boho. So that is why I like to have two different ways, or I do it in the way that I do it. I want my client to be able to say, yep, I like it. Nope, I don't. It's ruining my hairstyle. So by latch hooking it, it gives you that option, which where if you just braid it in, you can cut it, but chances of the hair kind of poking out or it's just not looking right just give it so you don't really want to cut it out of the braid. So you kind of just end up taking it all the way down, which where she doesn't have to worry about that. She can literally cut every last curly strand out very easily. She can pull against it and just cut it out and it'll just come out completely. So that's why I like to do it. And you want to ask your client when installing the boho curly hair how full and thick they want it. Because she did pick a discounted hairstyle, yes, I do have those. I have those for the hairstyles that I do want to film on here. But I still could have asked, but either way, she wanted the look. So of course she knew the look was coming with the boho. But if you are having a client that's just getting this in general, make sure you ask how full they want their boho to look, because you can literally make it as full as you want it or as light as you want it as far as adding it in with the latch hook and curling it. Now you see I am cutting the curls, all the excess hair off to the length of the bob. When cutting, you do not want to pull the hair. You just want to make sure it's all laying down and not. So do not pull the hair when cutting it, because once you release your hand, if you do pull and cut, you'll find that the curls are shorter. So you want to make sure they're just laying how they need to lay, and then you cut. So that way the curls will end at the same length of the beads. Once I am done putting in all the curls and I'm done trimming up, I like to add some mousse or some type of setting foam all throughout the hair for the curls, because I want the curls to be redefined. And if you want to redefine your curls, this is one way to do it, to make sure they're all together and things like that. Then I like to go in and also spray it with some type of oil sheen just to give it some shine. Make sure it's not looking dry. It's nice, moisturized and oiled. And yeah, so everything is set properly. You want to do that just to make, especially after you dip, because sometimes that could take the shine away from the hair. So go in with some oil sheen. Now I am laying her edges with some edge booster. This is my favorite edge control as far as doing edges. I have 4C hair. She doesn't have 4C hair, but I do. And I just find that this edge booster, it's like a watermelon smell. It smells so good. You want to eat it. But anyway, I just feel like it lays down every type of hair. It does not disappoint. It lays the edges. So if you're looking for a good edge control, get you the edge booster. The green one is great for me. I haven't tried all the colors. They do have multiple colors. I don't know. I picked mine based off the scent. I was like, oh, I think this is going to smell good. So I just picked it. And then once I opened it, oh my goodness, it did wonders. I just love it. And I got that edge brush from my local beauty supply, but I'm sure you can find it on Amazon. Here's the finished product. I hope you guys love it. If you want to see it live, I do have it live. And I put it in this video and you can watch it live. It has no sound because we was watching TV. I didn't want to get in trouble. But here it is right here in another tutorial. Peace and hair grease.